So we thought about it and said, yes, our dear customers and clients like all of you do deserve more options, and hence we decided we're going to add more destinations to our portfolio of offerings. And hence here I am today in this session talking to you about Canada as a new destination being offered to you from AJV Global. Hello and welcome to yet another session on everything about moving abroad from AJV Global. As you're aware, AJV Global is a company based in Hamilton City of New Zealand, and we are an end-to-end migration company that specializes in helping people to move abroad into various countries. Now, for more than a decade, my team and I, we have been very passionately promoting New Zealand as a destination, and we've had some tremendous success with the outcomes that our students and our migrants have experienced in this beautiful country in New Zealand. With the success we had with New Zealand, a lot of our clients kept asking us, hey, how about giving us more options? We know you're fantastic with New Zealand and the services you render to us whilst we are in our home country and also after we reach a destination like New Zealand. So how about giving us more options? So we thought about it and said, yes, our dear customers and clients like all of you do deserve more options, and hence we decided we're going to add more destinations to our portfolio of offerings. And hence here I am today in this session talking to you about Canada as a new destination being offered to you from AJV Global. Canada's education system has possibly got one of the highest rankings anywhere in the world. The quality is extraordinarily high, and while it may differ from province to province, because after all it is a very large country with many provinces inside it, by and large the format remains the same. So essentially there's pre-elementary, there is primary, there is secondary, and then of course you have the post-secondary education, which is also called your tertiary education. Now, after graduating from high school, most Canadian students can apply to go into two kinds of institutions. One is the universities, of course, and then there is something called the community colleges. Now, the universities are a bit more research orientated and, kind of giving you a more in-depth look and feel about a particular subject, whereas the community colleges are a bit more practical orientated and help you in picking up skills and education that will help you to work with your hands and be able to contribute in skills and trades that are required as much as computer scientists and financial managers and so on and so forth. So it's a very good blended system of learning in Canada, where a student can either opt to go into the more research-oriented, more academic university sector, or if they are more keen to get into a hands-on kind of an experience and work with their hands and kind of prove to themselves the skills they have, then they could also opt for a community college as well. The quality remains the same, and of course the quality is always overlooked by a government department, which ensures that every student will get the maximum out of whether a university or a community college they choose to go to. The universities in Canada offer a very, very wide range of subjects and degrees, and they could start all the way from an undergraduate course all the way up to a doctorate or a PhD. And the subjects that are available are pretty much from astronomy to zoology and everything else in between. So you have A to Z and everything else in between when you opt to go into a university in Canada. As I said, they are a bit more research orientated, which means the tutors and the lecturers at these universities are not only teaching, but they're also engaged in research of their own, which is a great learning environment for students who would also like to get into the more academic side of things. Moving on, coming to the community colleges, as I already mentioned before, they're a bit more practical and a bit more hands-on, but again, they have various levels of degrees and options available. And again, whilst they are called community colleges, their quality of education is on par with the universities. But like I said, the main differentiator between a university and a community college is that the community colleges tend to give you more practical learning and practical experience and more applied kind of learning, which means you can translate from education from a community college and pretty much hit the ground running if you want to pick up a technical job. So what would it be like for you as an international student in Canada? How will your experience be? I can tell you as a person who's been to Canada and have really experienced it firsthand that you will have one fantastic experience on campus be it a university or a community college. It's a very inclusive environment, and as I said, the safety aspect is very high, and there is a very good cohesion between the faculty and the students and the various student bodies, and there are many opportunities for research and further learning over and beyond what you're picking up in your classroom on a daily basis. And the inclusivity is very high. There is no discrimination based on religion or language or the way you look or the skin of your color, so on and so forth. Canada is one of the most liberal countries on earth, and it is very well reflected in all their education institutions. So what are the programs available to you as an international student and the different levels of study? You pretty much have options from A to Z with all subject matters covered, and also, of course, you have various levels from the undergraduate all the way up to a doctorate and up to a PhD. And it is important to note that some of the major industries in Canada will also give you an inkling into how study pathways you nicely into the workforce eventually. So talking about some of the major industries in Canada, we have hospitality, of course, with subsectors such as hotel management, culinary arts, event management, so on and so forth. You have health sciences, of course, which would include biotechnology, pharmacy, healthcare management, and of course, healthcare in itself. And then you will also have information technology and software development with all the exciting new things that are happening in this particular field. Of course, engineering is also very high in Canada, especially considering it's got such a massive forestry environment, and a lot of engineering goes into their forestry sector as well. And of course, general management, which is required for pretty much any industry across the board. What about getting an admission into a Canadian educational institution, whether it is a university or a community college? Well, the simple answer to that is that it's not difficult at all. It is quite an easy process. Of course, every institution will have its own entry criteria, and they will especially check if you're an international student for your ability in English and also what you have scored before in your previously acquired qualification as a stepping stone into a higher qualification. So by and large, most universities and community colleges in Canada have a IELTS requirement, which is the International English Language Testing System requirement of around 6.5 in academic, and they would require you to have at least a 55% in your pre-qualifying examination, especially at the community college level. And here's a big question: how much will it cost you to study in Canada? Well, again, it is not too expensive, and I can tell you with some of the notes I made here that for you to be able to study in Canada, you're potentially looking at between 15,000 to 40,000 Canadian dollars per year. And of course, it will vary depending on which particular institution you have chosen, what subject you have chosen. And besides the tuition fee, of course, you will also need to be able to have the living expenses for you while you're staying in Canada. And these living expenses can vary between 10,000 to 15,000 Canadian dollars. Here's another question that a lot of you ask me all the time, and that is, how does Canada compare in cost if you have to opt for other countries like UK, Australia, or the US? Well, the good news is that Canada actually compares really well, and I think it is definitely a little lower as compared to any of these other three countries. And also bear in mind that the cost of living will also vary on your personal likes and dislikes. After you land in Canada, if you want to drive a Ferrari, of course it's going to cost you a lot more, but if you're a bit more sensible and want to take it easy and one step at a time, it is quite an affordable country to live in as well. One of the other common questions that we tend to get quite a bit from prospective international students who want to go to Canada is, what is the cheapest course for me to take up in Canada? Well, there are no cheap courses per se, because you do get value for money for any course that you opt for in Canada. But at the end of the day, there are certain courses which will be lower, such as your diplomas and your one-year postgraduate courses, in comparison to, let's say, taking up a bachelor's or a master's. So there are, a good variation of courses with various cost options as well, and you would definitely be able to find one for you. But just because a course is a one-year diploma or a one-year postgraduate course does not mean the quality is any lower. And even at this level of a diploma or a 1 year postgraduate course, you would have various subject options, and you can still come out as a work-ready person and be able to translate that into a good career going forward in your future. One another very important question that students have about studying Canada is how much bank balance is required for you to be able to get a student visa. Well, the answer to that is quite simple. You are looking at approximately 6 lakhs of rupees or more in your bank to be able to apply for a student permit in Canada. And bear in mind, the 6 lakhs is for 1 year. So if you're opting to go for a course that is more than 1 year, then of course you need to multiply by the number of years that you're opting to study in Canada for. But the thumb rule is 6 lakhs per year is what is required for you to be able to successfully apply for a student permit in Canada. Here's another very important question which will be at the top of the mind of many international students who are opting to go to Canada, and that is, what happens after you complete your studies? After you complete your studies in Canada, there are opportunities for you to stay back either temporarily or on a more permanent basis. The law says that you need to have done a course of at least 8 months or more to be eligible for a post-study work permit. And once you take up the post-study work permit and you acquire the work experience, some of that work experience might also help you to eventually apply for a permanent residence. But bear in mind, the course you need to do in Canada should at least be 8 months in duration. Staying on with the post-study options, I will read out some notes I made here, and it's a bit technical, so to ensure I don't miss out on any of the details, I'll just read off my notes. And it says, to be eligible for a post-graduation work permit, your program duration should be at least 8 months or more. If your study duration in Canada is at least 8 months but no more than 2 years, you will be eligible for a post-graduation work permit equivalent to the length of your study program. If your study duration is more than 2 years, you may be eligible for a post-graduation work permit up to 3 years. If you complete more than one program in Canada, you may be able to get a post-graduation work permit that combines the length of each program. So there are some fantastic migration policies and immigration policies in Canada, which will allow you to stay on after you complete your studies and be able to acquire work experience, or even better, get your permanent residence as well. And of course, the big PR question, will I be able to get permanent residence in Canada? If you have completed any course from a well-reputed and prestigious Canadian university or institution, with a period of 2 years, and in addition to this, you also have work experience of 1 year in any proficient position, you are permitted to apply for permanent residency under a particular system called Canadian Experience Class. This is one of the most popular pathways amongst all international students. Besides the Canadian Experience Class, there are also various other opportunities for you to seek permanent residence. And some of these are called the Federal Skilled Worker Program, the Provincial Nominee Program, and you also have the Quebec Skilled Worker and Quebec Experience Class as well. So it's not just one pathway after your studies. There are various pathways towards residence in Canada. So this really makes it one of the most viable destinations in the world today. The S word, scholarships, are there some if you're opting to study in Canada? The answer is yes. A lot of institutions in Canada do make arrangement for scholarships. But of course, like any scholarship anywhere in the world, this would depend on your merit and your previous achievements, either academic or otherwise. And because scholarships is a vast subject, it will be best if you check with us at AJV Global, and we can determine and assess and let you know which is the scholarship you'll be most eligible for. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, about your options and information about studying in Canada. We at AJV Global are very pleased to add this new destination to our portfolio, and we are pleased that this was driven by requirements from our student community who said, you guys have done such a fantastic job for New Zealand. How about giving us options in the Northern Hemisphere, especially in North America as well? So we are extraordinarily pleased, and we have already put into place a good structure And we are replicating the success we've had in New Zealand, where we will look after you not only in a country of origin, but even after you land in Canada. So we look forward to working with you, and at any time that you want more information, do not hesitate to get in touch with us at AJV Global. We will be delighted to work with you and make you part of our extended family and help you achieve all your cherished goals and dreams in Canada. The simple answer to that question is no, because nobody will prevent you from acquiring further knowledge through study at any age. Having said that, there will be certain elements that both the institutions and the Immigration Department of Canada will look at, because a lot of international students tend to use the study pathway towards future work or residence opportunities in Canada. Because of that, the institutions and the Immigration Department would like to see the reasons why you're choosing a particular course, the level of the course, the institution that you're choosing, whether you have the financial resources to support yourself for that particular course, your previous academic and or work experience background, and once they're satisfied that you will genuinely be a student in the first instance and might look at opportunities later, that's pretty much your way into Canada. Please bear in mind that most Canadian institutions have very clearly marked deadlines for course start dates, and they actually expect you to start at least a year before, because the admission and the visa process can be quite lengthy, and our recommendation to you as experts in this field is to start it 12 months in advance so that you'll have adequate time and you don't stress as the deadline is coming closer. There cannot be any restrictions on how many master's degrees you want to acquire in one lifetime. Having said that, they will want to know what is the reason that you're opting for a particular master's again, once you already have a master's before, because at the master's level, it's pretty much a lot of self-study and the ability to do research and be able to come out with a good thesis or a dissertation, and hence they will want a very clear statement of purpose to understand why you want to do another master's while you already have a master's before. The answer to that is that it normally takes between 4 to 6 weeks for the Canadian Immigration Department to process student visas. And again, the better your documentation, the chances of getting it faster is very high. And that is where we at AJV Global come into the picture, because we are experts in ensuring that the best documentation is being put forward on your behalf, which means when it goes to an immigration officer of the Canadian department, the file is what we call decision ready, and they can flick through some of the documents and say, yep, this is a good international student for us in Canada, and approve your student visa at the earliest. Yes, you can, depending on the number of dependents you have listed in your visa application form. If they're all mentioned in that form, you can absolutely travel with your partner, your spouse, or your kids to Canada.